India's growing dependence on petroleum imports exposes our energy needs to external price shocks. Hence, production and use of domestic energy resources, especially the renewable ones, is of high priority to ensure energy security along with a clean environment, according to the Planning Commission. Government of India's policy to blend ethanol with petrol in progressive proportions has necessitated the production of more ethanol from diverse sources in addition to molasses, a byproduct in sugar production, and a traditional primary feedstock. The price of molasses is highly variable, with its inadequate supply over the years owing to the cyclical nature of sugarcane production, besides associated pollution hazards. This necessitates our commitment to find, propose, and propagate alternative, efficient, and easily renewable raw material for ethanol production. Sweet stalk sorghum, a multi-purpose crop grown for food, feed, fodder, and fuel, has now emerged as a viable alternative source of ethanol, produced from its stalk juice through a fermentation technology similar to the molasses-based process. Sweet sorghum also has the added advantage that, unlike other alcohol sources such as maize kernels sought by other countries, sweet sorghum does not compromise on the food security as advocated by the FAO. This is due to the fact that it not only produces syrup from its stalk, it produces considerable grain for human consumption or animal feed, as well as bagasse for either forage or cogeneration of heat required for fermentation.
There is a great interest in this because the sweet stalk sorghum can be the answer for dwindling water supply and environmental changes. It can grow in a very dry environment relative to rice or sugarcane, and within 4 months can produce adequate grain as well as lots of stalk containing up to about 18% of sugar. This will be useful for extracting alcohol from the stalk juice, and then the remaining residue called bagasse can also be used as a cattle feed or for many other industrial purposes. In the long run, of course, our interest is to use the plant, which is a very high photosynthetic efficiency, to convert the biomass into lignocellulosic alcohol. In fact, this is the newest theme in research in energy field worldwide. Another advantage of sorghum is that it can not only grow with the less of water, but it requires less nutrients as well. It also has ability to suppress denitrification, that means less of nitrous oxide being removed or generated from the soil and polluting the atmosphere. So it can be very useful in these days of threat of climatic change, which is very devastating if it really comes true. The government is also encouraging this development, and then sooner or later we will have the sorghum again taking a very prominent position in Indian agriculture as a multi-purpose crop for food, feed, fodder, as well as the fuel. ICAR is supporting research and development on sweet stalk sorghum, and also there are other government departments like DBT interested in this. We also have a special NEIP project on developing the technology and also working with the farmers and involve them in growing and feeding the factories which will make biofuel.
Sweet sorghum is grown in semi-arid tropics of India, where the annual rainfall ranges between 500 and 800 millimeters and the temperature ranges between 15 and 37 degrees Celsius. It generally grows to a height of 2.7 to 4 meters. The plant accumulates sugar up to 10 to 15% in its stalk, similar to sugarcane. Sweet sorghum is grown on well-drained soils such as silt loam or silt clay loam, with a depth greater than or equal to 0.75 meters, with minimal 1 or 2 irrigations, has the ability to adapt to and tolerate drought, heat, and saline alkaline soils. Raised from seeds, the sweet sorghum crop matures in about 3 to 4 months and water use is about 500 millimeters, 1/4 of that required by sugarcane on a comparable time scale, and 22% less than maize with comparable biomass yield. Sweet sorghum can be grown in Kharif, Rabi and summer seasons. In the Kharif season, it should be sown immediately after the onset of the monsoon, preferably from the first week of June to the first week of July. The Rabi season crop is from the last week of September to the first week of November, and the summer season crop between the middle of February and the last week of April. Stalk yields and sugar content will be reduced by 50% when grown in the Rabi season, that is, the winter season in central and South India. It cannot be grown in North India during the Rabi season because of extremely cold climatic conditions. The seed rate should be 8 kilograms per hectare or 3 kilograms per acre. Space between rows should be 45 to 60 centimeters and 12 to 15 centimeters between plants. Ideal plant population should be 110,000 to 120,000 plants per hectare or 40,000 to 48,000 plants per acre. Denser population will result in thin stalks that are susceptible to lodging during heavy rains or winds. The crop should be thinned twice, first at 15 days and the second at 25 to 30 days after sowing, and retaining a single healthy and vigorous seedling to produce maximum yield. Intercultivation or hoeing is recommended to be done twice, 25 to 35 days after sowing, to facilitate aeration of the root system besides earthing up to prevent lodging. Fertilizer application of 80 kilograms of nitrogen, 40 kilograms of phosphorus and 40 kilograms of potassium is recommended. The entire phosphorus, potassium and half of the nitrogen should be applied as a basal dose. The remaining 50% of nitrogen should be applied as a side dressing in 2 equal installments. First at about 30 to 35 days and second at 45 to 50 days after sowing. However, fertilizer recommendations should be based on prior soil testing results in a particular region. Weed growth can be controlled by application of atrazine at the rate of 1 kilogram active ingredient per hectare, 1 day after sowing, but before seedling emergence, followed by mechanical weeding once or twice within 35 to 40 days of sowing. 1 or 2 irrigations are recommended in order to combat dry spells of more than 15 days if it occurs at critical growth stages. In Rabi and summer, about 4 to 5 alternate row flood irrigations will be necessary for a good crop. To control insect pests such as shoot fly, granular application of carbofuron 3G at the rate of 20 kilograms per hectare or 4,8-10G at the rate of 15 kilograms per hectare at the time of sowing in soil furrows is recommended, and this is especially important in case of late sown crop in the Kharif season. Spotted stem borer can be controlled by the application of carbofuron 3G or endosulfan 35 EC at the rate of 2 milliliters per liter of water inside the whorl based on leaf feeding damage symptoms. Damage of crop due to shoot bug attack is controlled by spraying of metacystox 35 EC at the rate of 2 milliliters per liter of water at 35 to 40 days after sowing in the whorls based on the damage symptoms. Harvesting can be done at about 40 days after flowering or 120 days from sowing after ascertaining the brix content in the stalk. Ideally, the brix content should be a minimum of 16 to 18%. The major traits of sweet sorghum that determine the ethanol yield are stalk yield, juice extraction percentage, and sugar content. Fresh stalk yields range between 35 to 40 tons per hectare from Kharif and summer crops, and 20 to 25 tons per hectare from winter crops under optimal management conditions. The variability of quality traits in the commercial cultivars in terms of juice Brix is 16 to 18% during the Kharif season and 10 to 14% during the Rabi season. Total reducing sugars, 10 to 14%. Polarimeter sucrose, that is POL, 8 to 11%. Juice extraction from small crushers, 40 to 45%. But with big mill crushers, it is 60 to 70%. The juice yield 12 to 14 kiloliter per hectare. Dry bagasse yield 5 to 7 tons per hectare. And power from bagasse 3.5 megawatts per hectare of crop. In ideal conditions, ethanol yield of 1200 to 1500 liters per hectare per crop cycle can be achieved, since ethanol recovery varies from 6 to 9% of juice quantity with an average of 35 to 40 liters for every ton of stalks crushed. Research and development at the Directorate of Sorghum Research, formerly known as National Research Center for Sorghum, is mainly concentrated on crop improvement, cultivar development, multi-location performance evaluation, quality improvement, and techno-economic feasibility studies. In the last 6 years, efforts have been made with many sugarcane distilleries in organizing pilot studies.
We at NRCS are aiming to increase the stock yields by 10 to 15%, keeping the same levels of Brix or little increase in the Brix content. We are concentrating on increasing the stock yields and sugar yields of both male and female parents.
Presently released commercial cultivars are CSH22SS, SSV84, SSV74, and CSV19SS from the public sector, and Madura from NARI Fulton, PAC 52093 from Adventa Seeds Company, and SPSSV 30 from Praj Industries from the private sector.
First pilot studies was collaborated with at Belgaum with Sri Renuka Sugars, wherein the alcohol was produced from the sweet sorghum juice, and the realization of the ethanol from the stock was about 40 liters per ton of cane crush. Subsequently, we collaborated with Swagar Sugars, Chitturu, Andhra Pradesh, wherein the sweet sorghum is grown large acreage, more than 5,000 acres over a period of 3 years. Presently, we are collaborating with Tata Chemicals at Nanded, Maharashtra, and a large number of foreign Indian industrialist delegates comes to NRCS from time to time. We impart the training and also we encourage them to propagate the sweet sorghum.
When we evaluate the hybrids for sweet sorghum, we use national program released hybrid CSH22SS as the control, and in fact this hybrid was developed and released by national program, but it involves one of the female line ICAR-IIMR that was developed at ICRISAT. Besides that, we have some of the experimental hybrids being tested in All India coordinated program. This is how we work in close collaboration with each other, complementing each other's work. In the case of value chain, sweet sorghum ethanol value chain implementation, we have the private sector partnership, particularly with Rasni Distillery, wherein we are trying to utilize the sweet sorghum for the production of ethanol through decentralized syrup making unit.
Bagasse, the crushed stalk after extraction of juice, can be used as animal feed and can also be used to co-generate heat and power. The cost of cultivation of sweet sorghum on an average is 15,000 rupees per hectare, comprising paid up costs, and the net income would be 16,250 rupees to 25,000 rupees per hectare based on yield levels. Sweet stock price varies between 500 rupees to 700 rupees per ton offered by distilleries. The cost of ethanol production from sugarcane molasses at the rate of 2,000 rupees per ton will be higher by 1 rupee 87 paise per litre compared to that produced from sweet sorghum. Interestingly, the output-input ratio of sweet sorghum is higher than that of sugarcane. In other words, sweet sorghum cultivation yields higher returns per rupee invested and that too in a shorter period of just 4 months. Directorate of Sorghum Research has forged strong industrial linkages with a number of biofuel distilleries and sugar complexes such as Renuka Sugars Belgaum, Praj Industries Pune, National Sugar Institute Kanpur, Sagar Sugars Chittoor, Somaya Organochemical Shakarwadi, Tata Chemicals Limited Nanded, India Glycols Limited Kashipur, KCP Sugars in Andhra Pradesh, and other industries. The Directorate of Sorghum Research has provided planting materials and imparted training on production technology to industries for large-scale cultivation since 2004, which has ensured expansion of sweet sorghum cultivation in more than 5,000 acres. Currently, sweet sorghum-based distilleries such as Tata Chemicals Limited at Nanded, Mohan Breweries and Distilleries Chennai, and Rusni Distilleries Limited Sangareddy are promoting large-scale cultivation of sweet sorghum for bioethanol production. The ethanol conversion process from sweet sorghum juice generates low or negligible effluents in the spent wash, and the same after biomethanation can be composted with press mud to produce organic fertilizer. In most sugarcane growing locations, sweet sorghum can become one of the feedstocks to the existing distillery or biorefining facilities and thereby help to increase capacity utilization of the existing infrastructure. Directorate of Sorghum Research, besides organizing press conferences regularly, has addressed technical queries on all aspects of sweet sorghum to more than 200 technocrats, machinery manufacturers, industrialists, policymakers, contract farming experts, and journalists. Future efforts at Directorate of Sorghum Research include developing hybrids with tolerance to shoot fly, stem borer, and shoot bugs, combining high stalk yield and ethanol yields, improved agrotechnology, transgenic for borer resistance, rapid sugar accumulation immediately after flowering, and retaining sweet sorghum stalks longer for increased harvest window, scaling up of sweet sorghum cultivation in liaison with biofuel distilleries and entrepreneurs. Production of biofuel from sweet sorghum with appropriate economic, environmental, and social policies will enhance not just India's food and energy security, but also environmental sustainability, besides creating remunerative markets for the small and marginal farmers, thereby converting sorghum from a subsistence to a cash crop category.